Welcome everyone to our nightly live stream here, mostly because I finally want to get this vintage board off the table here. I have not done this yet because I finally wanted to see some 3D stuff here before I put this away and continue with my own code. And also I will most likely not do much more vintage stuff here in this form because this is slightly wasting too much time for myself. I also don't enjoy this so much. I already try to make my life. I have slightly many videos here now, actually, and because I already make my life slightly easier here with DOSBox, but I also do not enjoy this so much, messing around here with this vintage stuff. This reminds me too much of my days when Windows wasn't working and such. So basically, this is also the recurring warning. If you watch some vintage retro YouTuber stuff, it might look amazing on video, but until you try yourself to get the stuff working. So basically this is messing here with test installs of Descent and messing around with patches, because unless you get the very first revision like Voodoo 1, then you often have to patch stuff, or even for the Voodoo 1 you have to patch stuff, DOS games and whatnot. And for the Voodoo 2 even more, just like the 3D S3 Verge, especially the DX and so on. Long story short, I'm a little bit tired of this patching around. Then also additionally, after all this patching, often the no CD stuff, I have even, of course we only work here with legal copies, I for this even purchased Descent 2 on this GOG website there. Even have here like valid license or whatever there, but then you even need to CD. Of course this works in DOSBox, but then if you want to use it on your real vintage hardware, you maybe even need to patch Z for no CD patch on top of all the, and then often the stuff doesn't apply. Descent Verge patch or Voodoo patch and no CD patch, or you plug a real CD-ROM in there and burn this on the optical media, whatever. So today even quite a lot of stuff here that needs to go right just for the video, with audio capture, with VGA capture. I have at least one demo for you to enjoy, and yeah, let's get to that point, because even then, with all this fiddling here a couple of hours later, I have here the 2B, I mean, funny enough, all the official commercial stuff doesn't work, and the only thing I got to work here is this to be continued. Actually, okay, to be fair, probably if I would install other stuff like Direct 3D or Mini GL stuff or whatever, that probably would also work now, but I'm rather doing my coding now for the low level stuff. Also, I think at least some moment ago, I think this doesn't crash anymore. In my earlier video this morning, this amazing control center did crash. I swapped the whole logic board out here before we were rocking this PC chips with IDT WinChip. Now we are rocking here whatever this was, ASUS or Gigabyte, with K6 2 or whatever, something. Actually we could document this here just for the, was this here in this settings, or maybe where would that be, display properties or my computer, wherever something not the greatest. Or should this not be somewhere here, settings, something. Okay, anyway, last but not least, it should be in the control center in our red system this year. Oh, thank you very much, amazing information. Authentic AMD, that is super specific. Thank you very much for that information. It's some, actually it could be here on this paper K6 2 overclocked to 400, so much to my paper note. Nothing beats paper notes. So then coming here to the final demo for you to enjoy, and headphone users beware, this will be direct line capture, so relatively loud. Enjoy it with me for your original Voodoo fun. So, and back to the microphone. I hope you enjoyed this. I captured this, I recorded this also to disk for upload on the second channel for just the bare demo. This is why I had to shortly restart this, because I forgot to press the capture button. You see, so this was real Voodoo 2 here, not some emulation stuff, and I now shut this down because of all the vintage boards this fan is the most annoyingly loud. Shut down, yes. And yeah, as I said in the beginning of this live stream, this will be most likely one of the last vintage stuff, and this took way too much time, nearly 3 hours tinkering with this Voodoo stuff and this stupid Windows driver installation nonsense yesterday and today, maybe 1 more hour or something, plus I spent with just trial and error switching the logic board. In my opinion, my time is probably best spent to continue coding here and also on the 3D. So next I will do the Voodoo example here. I only wanted to make really sure that this card really works before I continue here and spend whole days looking for bugs in my code without knowing even if the card works. And also for you, otherwise on other YouTubers you mostly see, well, except 8-bit guy repairing something or stuff like this. Otherwise you often see only the end product, and I get the feeling they usually fiddle there like a day with patches and googling all the stuff together until it really works, to get you here the real impression how this really is. And I don't find this the most satisfying to Google for random patches until this old vintage stuff works. So maybe exceptionally we will do this, for example, also for emulators to test patches on DOSBox and PC emulator and whatnot, but not, by the way, what are we showing? You're asking, like, tracker music, is this still? So, yeah, and then also, of course, I will not replicate the whole setup like this, like in the, what was the other second reality or this demo. This was to be continued for the 3DFX. And of course I could sit down and program all the details like this in my bare metal DOS coding stuff there, but I will not, for the simple reason that for me the technical implementation is the most interesting, and otherwise I would need to sit on top. Like I spent maybe a day to get, probably I hope, this Voodoo low-level stuff working maybe on Saturday or something like this. And for me, the most educational and, for example, implementing a whole graphics subsystem or microkernel from scratch, this is the most interesting, and it's not so much interesting for me sitting here like 2 or 3 more weeks painting textures and coding the scene movements and scene models and such. However, other people are, of course, interested here in this, and if, for example, everyone is welcome to take my example code and make a whole demo out of this, either for the S3 Verge or the 3DFX Voodoo. And kudos to all those vintage channels who really keep all the stuff working. For me, it's also a little bit, I wish people would keep these patches in a more archived order, but maybe for copyright reasons, many people are also afraid. And yeah, to go back to the PS3, this was not the PS3 we have done another month. Yes, I got this working. To summarize, if you are new for the PS3, we will also continue with the PS3. However, for me, the most useful, for example, with the PS3 is also to have, for example, hardware cursor. And I understand that for most of you, can also put this here in slightly better presentation or something. And for me, for example, the next useful thing on the PS3 would actually be hardware cursor, although this is not the most amazing for you. Many of PS3 fans in the audience are looking for, as far as I understood, are looking for 3D acceleration, and this was actually never my initial goal. And this is also how I got a little bit more into this vintage stuff here, trying to educate people to code this also. And by the way, patches are welcome, because I in the initial video a year ago, I said make it great again, and I did not set greater or more working. I only said great again, as great as it was, because other people have done this already 10 years ago. Actually, maybe 10 years, 9 years. And PS3 was already working with hypervisor and security until firmware 2.10. Only then Sony patched this, and since then I had first my PS3 never updated to 2.10 and only eventually for Blu-ray watching. But what I have done, I wondered, and by the way, there you see how much other people contribute in the open source community. Also, of course, the PS3 hacking community is quite active. But everyone could have done this the last 10 years. And I only wondered, having this in the basement with a medium, not that well done upgraded firmware, I wondered, is it possible? And then I was just the first in like maybe 6 years or something to take this out and continue with this, because the modifications of running, but what we do in the PS3 nowadays, or since some years, is to run Linux as game OS, and this is why we don't have any hypervisor access checks there or limitations for the RSX, for the NVIDIA RSX. And I have not done this, so I have not done the firmware hacking, and I don't want anyone to think that I hacked on the firmware. No, I do not do this. So what we have done, I took because I don't want Sony to sue me, obviously. So, and I also wondered that nobody maintains some Linux for the PS3 anymore. Not this red flag stuff, and maybe not Debian, at least what I've seen on the Debian side was not maintained or something. And I only wondered, nobody is doing this. I only wanted to keep my T2 stuff running, and only on the frame buffer. So what I've done is I took the old patches that were for firmware insecurity, and I modified them until they worked when we run. But other people have enabled this, so I also did not participate in this class action lawsuit. So other people got some compensation of $10 or something, but as we are in Europe, we don't get this. So I can still legally run. By the way, I would not suggest you to cash in this 10 or whatever, 8, 7, very little amount of money from this class action lawsuit. Not really sure if this is legal, because I, in my opinion, think what I do here is legal, because actually my company brought this PlayStation for PowerPC development, and Sony even encouraged this back in the day. This was an official feature, and it is not my problem that Sony took this feature out of the firmware that I actually, or my company even initially paid for. And what I have done is until after we realized that Sony bricked our company PS3 for PowerPC and cell development, we just restored this And I did not only can I not participate in this class action lawsuit of people in the United States and getting this 7, 8 or 9 or whatever minimal amount of compensation that is. So I can, in my opinion, legally do this. We brought this for this reason. Oh, Sony just randomly bricked this for us. We restored this functionality, and in restoring this functionality, which I have not done, we can, with this, like everyone else on the internet, can run Linux running as GameOS with full access to everything. And what I've done is I took these old patches, whatever other brilliant people have done a decade ago, and modified them in a way not to rely on this hypervisor insecurity, and instead run it in GameOS with full access rights that we have otherwise. In my opinion anyway, with a full price, my company paid 600 or so euro, I think, something like this, out of recollecting from memory, around the launch date or maybe a couple of months later. So we paid the full retail price as a company PowerPC and cell development workstation, and we own the hardware, and in my opinion we can do whatever we want with this. We are not in piracy, we do not copy games here, we only do commercial open operating system and graphics subsystem development. And from how I read this, that Sony, it's not in our control that Sony released there some firmwares that bricked functionality for what we paid in full, and again not participating in this class action lawsuit and not getting this compensation. So yeah, legal stuff a little bit grayish there, but in my opinion more light gray than dark gray. And again, I only use this for commercial software or professional software development here anyway. And let's see now, the latest Linux distro support for new others is Red Ribbon, which is still what means to be what. As far as I see, Red Ribbon was not updated in 5, 6 or 7 years. It's mostly dead as far as I've seen it. Completely old stuff, unmaintained, full with security vulnerabilities of 5 years, not updated or something. And nobody has updated the patches until I have done this last year or something, is at least my side of the summary there. But probably the Debian people will, as usually, say their work is amazing, although it looks not updated, in my opinion, the last time I looked anyway. Leave in the comments below what you think about this, what is your opinion. And yeah, also the problem is with the RSX, I do not really have that much time. I would rather make big advancements. But I invite everyone in the community, contribute, do your stuff, and I do not need more fame with this. I also really do not have more time, because the problem with the RSX is as soon as it doesn't like some command, it's crashing and we get some hypervisor exception. And I could sit here day and night and analyze this, but I have a little bit greater things to develop here, like maybe a whole microkernel, at least a whole graphic subsystem and reference library of drafting low-level stuff here next for the Voodoo. This is not only more fun for me, but also more fulfilling and probably contributing more real code here for the whole community as a whole and educational purposes. And yeah, you're welcome. Take this code. I published everything. Download T2, which is 5 years older or 6 or 7. We could actually check this here live on YouTube. And yeah, if take this code, do your stuff. Why do I have here 2 dashboards? And nobody's stopping you, and this also motivates me to do more stuff. But next I will, what also nobody except the original developer for maybe FreeBSD, but this stuff is mostly up and done and not maintained. For the FreeBSD stuff also somehow everyone, the thing is also they moved on in life, have better stuff to do, like I playing with the Voodoo. And let's check Red Ribbon. And yeah, Red Ribbon glue, let's see here. Yeah, this may be the official website, maybe not. But here you already see, okay, this is not official. This is also SourceForge, still works installing. Okay, this is some old stuff, but in general, I would not recommend installing this old stuff. because it is total vintage. You take my T2 release, this is 5 years older, that is latest and greatest. And then also, by the way, this red ribbon was, in my opinion, never nicely published with all the changes nicely. For example, I did not find any, you also don't know what, T2 is much more transparent, you never know what people mixed in there and kind of malware. Not that I would find there something, but I also didn't take a look. And in general, I don't like to run stuff where you don't know what is inside. So yeah, this is from 2014, this is 5 years old, just as I remembered. It doesn't look maintained, unless they moved somewhere else, but I probably think not. In my opinion, take this T2 stuff and build from there. Best share, I would, of course you are free to do whatever you want, but in my opinion, best work with us here, with the other T2 people, with me and my one-man distribution, with all the other stuff, with all the other one-man 80 people on the mailing list. And Linux can be installed on the, yes, I made there, go to the, I probably need to publish this. It was installable sort of a decade ago and I refreshed this. You find this on the last video. I agree, this is not the most nicely published. It is only nicely published for all the recurring subscribers who take a look here, because I had to optimize, I had to size optimize the heck out of our installer, because due to memory limitations, our installer was relatively large and the memory, the 256 megabyte of system RAM were simply not enough to load our installer. This is why this took so much work, because this was not PS3 related, this was just optimizing the heck for low memory systems, because frankly even my G4 cube there back in the background there, even my G4 cube has more memory, and so even has a transmitter sync client that we used in this morning's video. And basically everything, every embedded board probably has more memory. Anyway, I agree it is not the most amazingly published, but the next time I find a couple of minutes, maybe later tonight at midnight or something like that, I will publish this, probably link this here in the hardware section. This is probably the best thing to publish this. Hardware, workstation, or was it game? Maybe game console, Sony PS3. It's probably best is that I place a link here on this side, then everyone can find it as a last ISO, because on YouTube, I agree, the video scrolled now away, but probably it is linked on some PS3 dev forum, I would guess. And then please, of course, you are free to fork it and run away with it, but in my opinion, this will be dead very soon, because most people don't invest so much time and effort into keeping a one-man distribution with 80 people on the mailing list running like but prove me wrong, but your time is best invested, in my opinion, if you send patches and we spin regular releases, because then people have a recurring site to come back and find the latest stuff. And in general, even the Rock Linux fork of T2 back in the day has proven, maybe this was an historic mistake, but that is how it is now. I can unfortunately not travel back in time. If I could travel back in time, I would maybe not for Rock Linux, but that is how it is now. But who knows how that would have developed. Maybe then the whole project would be dead by now anyway. But that's what it is now. But anyway, contribute back. There was already one amazing contributor who sent already a couple of patches. That was amazing. Thanks, mate. That is really cool. And I would like to see more of this. So the PlayStation, I can also put it here on camera. Just need to be careful not to throw my water glass over here, because probably maybe no cable plugged in. So yes, PS3 is not far away. Here it is, not far away. And by the way, the problem is our office is extremely full, fuller than it should be, with all the half YouTube video setup stuff there. But why is it? Oh, I don't have the second studio light on. Hey, look at this. And Charlotte became light. And yeah, it is not forgotten. It is not far away. And we will continue with this. And as I said, next I will probably do hardware cursor, because this is actually what I wanted to say. Usually I try to say something and then comments make myself go here down another rabbit hole. And next I will probably do the boring thing, which I admit it is a low-hanging fruit, meaning it is probably doable in a couple of hours or probably with rebooting and such, maybe an afternoon. Hardware cursor, this is the next thing for me to use it on a daily basis for browsing the web and writing an email. And we can also make it here a little bit more hacking stuff by switching off the studio light. And hardware cursor for wasting less CPU resources, painting the cursor, less flickering and more amazingness. And again, everything theoretically is there for 3D, and it would be amazing if people take a look. And why do I do this? First of all, I wanted to do S3 Verge. Why do I do this? I do not do this here for only like YouTube fame. If I wanted to do this, and I would probably do one laptop review after another here. And this might get myself the most YouTube subscribers. But why do I do this? The S3 Verge, I wanted, as I said multiple times, I wanted to get this going in 1996 or so, and couldn't back in the day with our knowledge, so I wanted to have this finally done. Then I realized all the old vintage retro drivers in the Xorg server are getting more and more deleted, although there is now someone, what is his name, Bruce or something, who is reviving some. But the problem is, even then, the X server has deleted code for old-fashioned 2D acceleration. So even with a revival or maintenance of this old drivers for S3 and Voodoo and such, you don't get any 2D acceleration. And then on top of this, even for the newer generations, for example, Matrox cards, I have a Matrox card here also from back in the day. Even for those, I mentioned this already, Mesa has the code deleted for 3D support, all those cards, ATI, Rage, and theoretically there was even code for S3 Verge, but even Matrox, for example, back in the day I brought Matrox cards for amazing 3D, and I find it really sad that this code is getting deleted because bitrot, and then I don't really agree with deleting this for keeping it maintained, but whatever. These are the maintainers, they can do how they please. If this would be my project, I wouldn't do this. This is why I also don't want to argue with those people, and I also don't want to be the one, the next to nearly only one working on this. Okay, there is Bruce, but not really sure if he will revive the 3D code anytime soon. And then I have the choice between making Debian Linux greater by donating my time that nobody pays me for maintaining the 3D stuff, or I write maybe, in my opinion, better maintainable code that can also be used on DOS or your own microkernel. Because if the Mesa code is super large and, in my opinion, not the most readable and not the most maintainable, and then after 20 years of contributing from everything to the Linux kernel, GCC, GIMP, Firefox, Chrome, and the Debian people still complain I'm not the most amazing community person, then I honestly have to say, after 20 years, I rather do my own side projects now, like more optimized, low-level stuff that people don't value it anyway. The Mesa people delete it, and the Debian people complain I'm not the most amazing patch submitter, so whatever. And yes, I have, after 20 years, Linux is successful on the server market, but not so much on the desktop, and maybe there are good reasons for this. And then I also want to be a little bit selfish here and do my own thing and have my own fun, because even in the Linux kernel I don't enjoy working on the Linux kernel the most with the monolithic architecture. And maybe the world needs another example of microkernel and graphics stack, and that is what we will continue to do here with the Voodoo card. Not sure if this is the best idea, but this is at least what I like to do here on the weekend and night and such. And yeah, that is what we do now. If you think this is stupid, then you are welcome to work on Mesa and resurrect the Matrox code or whatever. Otherwise, I enjoy my vintage code here. And so yeah, hardware cursor for sure sometime soon, and then also more stuff. And again, everything is theoretically working. You have some of the stuff documented in the Novo project there of Xorg, if you want to work on this. And this is an amazing, the problem is I have here also a company to run and a day job, and this is why I have only so much time. And maybe this is also for new people to move on and do, for example, the PS3 RSX stuff. And yeah, looking forward to hear from you. Leave in the comments below what you like and dislike, what you think is amazing and what is not, what you think is a good idea and what is not the best idea. And I usually read most of the comments and reply often. And I hope you enjoyed this random tinkering. And yeah, to the retro side, the problem is when you watch videos from the 8-bit guy or lazy game reviews, or what is this, LGR, it looks so easy, but then when you order yourself a Voodoo card and you realize, damn, this does not just work, the driver doesn't work, the driver crashes, Windows crashes, and here you need a patch and the patch doesn't download, and then you sit a whole day trying to get a game going, which is, by the way, I do not even want to play a game so much, but whatever. So you see also, even not only my laptop reviews, but also other videos. Even for this video, you see how much gear I brought already. I brought here second frame grabber, so I have 2 frame grabber, video signal grabbers, capture devices for the main camera, for the VGA analog capture, so much stuff you need to set up, and have running audio input. Most of the latest laptops and stuff, Macs, don't even have a line input anymore. And then you sit here even with audio capture and 2 VGA cards and all the other logic board, CPU, and so on, just to give you an overview. And even preparing this video is 30-40 minutes, getting all the stuff out. I mean, not even counting hunting the patches and getting it installed and fighting for an hour or 2 with Doom or Descent stuff. Maybe I will have an easier time just taking GL Quake, and this might even be running. But theoretically, I have even for the SGI Octane, that you get an idea of what you can actually subscribe here for. Even for the Octane, I theoretically have on my to-do list to actually maybe more light. For the Octanes, I have on the to-do list to run Quake, or what this is, whatever is available there. So this is also for another winter day, and we also have theoretically more Linux Octane stuff coming, but all of this stuff takes enormous time. This is why we need to do this here step by step, especially as I have also a day job in between. And here next, finishing this Voodoo hardware cursor, and then we will see most likely also some microkernel examples. And as much as work as this is, probably most people don't realize, and also I expected this Voodoo stuff to be slightly more smooth after the S3 Verge was already a complete pain, mostly also because this is the DX2 Verge, and then you need to patch already all the software for, especially the DOS software, for support for the later card, because obviously the software has hard-coded PCI IDs or so, and then it only works with the original initial revision 1 Verge. And with the Voodoo 2, of course, I made the mistake. I wanted slightly higher performance. This is why I got the DX Verge, because everyone knows it's a deaccelerator, and for a little bit more oomph there, a little bit more performance, the DX. And then if you get the second revision also from the Voodoo 2, then you have the problem patching the software and so on. And yeah, a little bit of a nightmare. But maybe some people enjoy this and tinkering around with Windows, see it crashing and see executables crashing and page faulting and whatnot. So yeah, and this, all the efforts, I realize some of these videos are not the most smooth, the most polished, but I already overdo here my after work and night content more than I probably should to build here the channel. And the more sad it is to see people unsubscribing. Of course, we have each day 10 people subscribing and 8 people unsubscribing, which is slightly sad to see. I understand some fans only like to see PS3 videos or other Linux videos or vintage videos, but we cannot do PS3, vintage and Linux each and every day. This is, by the way, if you want to unsubscribe, if you are not satisfied with the content, please leave a comment, because if you just unsubscribe, I have no idea what is the problem. Do you want more 4K content, sharper? Do I need a camera assistant here for more camera movement on the go? More pre-edited videos? More pro coding, more PS3, more IRIX, more SGI. I have no idea. If you just click the unsubscribe button, I have no idea what's going on. And so if you unsubscribed, of course, you're free to do that, but it would be completely amazing if you leave a comment why you do this. Of course, some people comment. Someone commented recently under the IBM video, IBM R6000, this was the most unsharp, blurry 4K video he has ever seen. Yes, I agree, but this was at my parents' 300 kilometers away, with traveling with only the bare minimum video equipment, and then also not in the living room, in some work study place there. And yes, I could have exported this with full HD, but as I had already 4K raw footage, why not? Some scenes are sharper, some scenes are mostly zoomed in to the display, so be it, whatever. But yeah, I understand it was not the most amazing 4K footage, but that is how it is at my not primary shooting location somewhere on the go. But I realized this myself. Thank you very much for this extremely clever comment. But anyway, whatever. That being said, the more subscribers we get, the more motivated we are also to spend more time on filming and editing. So don't forget to share, like, and subscribe. The next milestones are certainly, we are reaching 3K subscribers, which is of course amazing. Of course, I wish it would go slightly faster, but I realize that's what it is for our not as amazing video recording and editing qualities here. But hey, 3K subscribers, there's only so much time you can spend for $3 a day. And next milestones will of course be 10K subscribers and 100,000 subscribers, which will probably take a couple of years more, unless you help, share, like, and subscribe. And yeah, the more I said this already, my YouTube income here is net negative, because with $3 a day, $600 a year, we spend way more on recording equipment. Just this was 150. The camera was 300, the new lens was 700, and cables capture, then the other HDMI capture was 90, and plus here's a Voodoo S3 Verge, and so net income is negative. Not that someone thinks here we become millionaires, it's just a handful of shittily recorded and quickly amateurish cut it together videos, but we are working on it. And it is also amazing to see that we have 8 people here in the audience watching this. I'm, by the way, not complaining. This is just a fair summary of the YouTube realities here, and not complaining at all. Completely amazing that we have not only 8 people watching, but nearly 3,000 subscribers and so on. This is just how it is building up a channel. I hope you completely enjoyed it as much as I did, but now I will put this away and work on the Voodoo code, and then we will do microkernel and PS3 and so much more to come. And in general, you can as always leave comments, not only what you like and dislike, but also what you would like to see. If you have tips and content, PS3 or IRIX, SGI or whatever, Linux coding, you name it, or editing tips, what you want to see approved and whatnot. So yeah, have a good night or day. Bonjour, good evening. Do svidaniya and gute Nacht. And I hope to see you soon for the next videos to come.